Hello, it's good to see you. Today we are going to do something that a couple of people have asked me to do, and I kept meaning to do it, and I just kept forgetting about it. But one person was very persistent. They kept asking me for tips for this one topic, so I finally sat down and thought about it today, and I came up with some stuff. And as I am known to do from time to time, I made cards. I make these little cards. It's just paper. It's nothing fancy, and they're not in any particular order. But today we are going to go over a few of my tips and just things I've learned from other people I've picked up here and there for moving. And if you are moving right now, or any time, you have my sympathy. I hate moving. It's even if you have movers and everything, it's just a pain. It's so stressful. Even if it's a good move. I mean, because, I've had some moves that were good and, they were a good thing. Like moving in here was a great thing, but it was still stressful. This, I counted up my moves earlier today, and I figured out this was my 19th move moving into this house. And this move, actually moving into this house, was the first and only time I ever hired movers to do anything. Most of them I did by myself. Now, fortunately, from a lot of the early ones, I was single, I didn't have any kids, and I was broke, and I didn't have a lot of stuff, so there wasn't a lot of stuff to move, fortunately, so it wasn't a huge deal. But before I do that, this has nothing to do with moving, but I just wanted to show you my shirts. I bought these two shirts for working out. I just thought they were funny. I thought this one was funny. It says, "I work out to burn off the crazy." It's like a sleeveless tank. I thought that was funny. I found it from the Fitness Tee company. They didn't sponsor me. I just thought it was a funny little shirt. And I just got them in the mail, and I wanted to show somebody. And this one was the one that I saw an ad. I saw an ad for their company. It made me go look because I really like this one. "Never apologize for who you are." I like that one. And it's made the same way. It's just a little tank. And that's the Fitness Tee company. I thought that was neat. So I just wanted to show you those. It has nothing to do with this. Okay, so moving. Yeah, this was my 19th move after leaving home at 17 to go to college. I hate moving. I hate it. And when I moved in here, I moved in here with the intention of not moving again, at least for a very long time, and I intend to stick to that if at all possible. I hate moving. I tell you, every time I move, I lose something, and I break something, and I hurt myself. Every time. I manage to do those three things every time I move. So, every now and then, and it happens not frequently, but occasionally, I will be having a dream, and it's going along, and then all of a sudden it comes up in the dream, "Mary, you have to move. You have to get packed up and move." And it becomes part of the dream that I have to move. And I am so filled with dread, and I am so irritated that I have to move. I have to pack up everything in this house and move. I hate dreams like that. I hate them. And I hope after sitting down to do this, I don't have a dream like that tonight, because I hate those dreams. So yeah, if you're moving anytime soon, I'm sorry. Even if it's a good thing, it's a lot of stress. The first thing I want to say before I get into these, as far as giving you advice after having moved 19 times, the best thing you can do, if at all possible, is give yourself enough time. You're going to need more time to pack and get ready to move than you think. It always works out that way. Like, you might be looking around right now, if you're getting ready to move, you may be looking around right now and thinking, "Oh, I don't have a lot of stuff." Yes, you do. You have a lot of stuff. You have way more stuff than you realize, and you will catch yourself saying that to yourself. "I have a lot of stuff. My God, why do I have so much stuff?" And we'll talk about that, because I try to look for the bright side in everything, because I'm convinced everything has either a bright side or a lesson you can learn from it. And there is a bright side to moving, and I'll talk about that. But the first little card I have actually deals with time, because time is your most important thing when it comes to moving. You want to talk about stress? Find out you have very little time to pack and move. I went through that during one of my marriages. We were selling our house and moving to another house we were going to buy, and the real estate agent that was involved in the transaction apparently got the date screwed up as to when we had to be out of the house. And apparently the date was 2 weeks sooner than she told us it was. And yeah, it was almost 2.5 weeks. So we had way less time than we originally thought we did. And we had to really scramble to get everything packed up and out of the house in order for the people who were buying it to move in, because they were adamant they had to move in then. I think they were renting an apartment or something, and the lease was up or something. Anyway. So, and the house we were buying was not ready for another 2 to 2.5 weeks. So it was really awful. I didn't even count that as one of my moves. We actually had to move into an extended stay place for roughly 2 week period of time, because our house wasn't ready yet. So we had to move all of our stuff into storage and live in this extended stay place for a couple of weeks. And that was so stressful. And we had a little toddler at the time. Oh my God. But yeah, I know how stressful it is to have to hurry to move. And, everything gets rushed. And there's a good chance things are going to get damaged. Things are going to get lost. So give yourself as much time as possible. I know it's not always possible, but it's a good idea to do that. So plan in advance. Plan as far in advance as possible to start packing and getting ready for the move. And that means acquiring boxes, figuring out what you're going to use for packing materials, figuring out how you want to pack everything up, all that. You want to start planning as early as possible for this move. And this one also deals with time. Allow more time for packing than you think you'll need. You probably have more stuff than you realize, definitely. Because it always amazes me when we moved in here from that apartment. Gosh, that was almost 4 years ago. That was in 2017. It was May of the beginning of June 2017 we moved in here. Oh my gosh, it's been almost 4 years. But I couldn't believe, because now the apartment we were staying in was actually a pretty good size apartment. It was pretty big. And it didn't look like we had that much stuff, because it was all kind of spread out. I had my bedroom, my kids had their bedrooms, and everything was just kind of distributed throughout the apartment. So it didn't look like that much stuff. But once I knew where we were going and when we would be moving, I immediately started acquiring boxes, packing up stuff that I knew we wouldn't need right away. And that's when it started to hit me. I have a lot of stuff, and my kids have a lot of stuff. We just have lots of stuff. But I'm really glad I started when I did, because that packing up that apartment ended up taking longer than I expected it to. And I've moved a ton of times, and sometimes even I can't accurately judge how much time I need to prepare and pack everything. So don't think you're going to do it all in one day. You won't. I don't care how much or how little stuff you have. Just give yourself plenty of time. And stuff could come up while you're doing it. I mean, you may have a day where you think you're going to be able to pack, but something comes up and you can't get to it that day. So you may run into issues. Another thing that you might want to do is think about the mood of your move, because, like I said, 19 moves. Each move had a different mood to it. Some of them were just kind of neutral, like blah, like when I was in college. At one point, I moved from a 2-bedroom condo into a 1-bedroom apartment. Actually, it was kind of blah to good, because I had to deal with several roommates, and it was, I don't like roommates. and I found a 1-bedroom apartment that I could afford. So it was good, but it was kind of like, you know. But it was kind of an okay mood. Sometimes it can be a stressful mood. It can be a bad move. But the mood can really dictate how that move goes. I know when I moved to Illinois to join or to be with my then fiance and join what I later discovered was basically a cult, I was really stressed. The mood was, I was uncertain. There was a lot of uncertainty. I was very stressed. And that was a very difficult move because I wasn't just going across town. You know, I was moving like 15 hours away. So it was to a completely unfamiliar place where I didn't really know anybody. That was a very stressful move. So yeah, that may affect how hard or easy the move is. And if you know that if it's a stressful move for you, you might want to allow yourself some extra time to take a break every now and then, unwind, you know, whatever you need to do to deal with the stress. So every move has a different mood to it, as from my experience. Most of mine, fortunately, were at least, you know, like border, just you know, or they were good. So I didn't really have many moves that I wasn't really looking forward to. Okay, and this seems so simple, but even I have forgotten to do this, especially if I was trying to pack up and move and I'm in a hurry. Like if I didn't plan my time very well and my work schedule didn't allow me much time to prepare and pack, I have forgotten to do this. Have a few boxes of essential things for everyone in the family, or if it's just you. Just make sure you have, it might be good to have like a clear tote, like one of those see-through plastic totes that you can see what's in it, and you know, mark that if you need to, that this is my essentials tote. And that one, you're probably going to pack that last. It'll have stuff in it like your toothbrush, you know, whatever essentials you need day to day that you don't want to pack away and not be able to find. But this can save a lot of headaches, especially if you have tons of boxes and you know you're looking for your toothbrush or your favorite towel or whatever you know you're going to need, like your hairbrush or your curling iron or your toothpaste, things like that. Just put all that stuff in the same tote, or have designated totes for that kind of stuff. And here's another one, and I didn't even know this until I got to college and my roommate told me about it. I didn't know about this. If you're looking for really good sturdy boxes, and maybe you already know this, but I didn't, so there could be other people who didn't know. Go to the liquor store for good, sturdy, free boxes. All those boxes at the liquor store, they're awesome. They're very sturdy and thick, you know, cardboard, and they're really great, especially for breakables. You want to put them in a box to make sure it doesn't get crushed. Oh, those boxes are the best. Gosh, I remember I recommended this though to one girl that I went to college with, and she was moving back home for the summer, and she said, "No, if I brought all my stuff in liquor boxes, my parents would think I've been drinking all semester," because her parents were like teetotalers, and she said I couldn't. They would not even allow me to bring these boxes in the house. So, if that's an issue, you know, don't do it. But if it's not, you know, the liquor store. If you have a liquor store near you, they have fantastic boxes. You know, you can either talk to somebody in the store, or sometimes they'll be out back, although a lot of them around here crush their boxes down to be recycled, so you may have to talk to somebody in the inside to ask them if they will hold some for you. And I bet if you ask, they would probably do that. Oh, this is another great little thing right here. This is another thing that I'm guilty of not doing, and it took me a while to start doing this. Take your screws and any small parts, like for like a TV wall mount or, you know, anything like that, put them in a Ziploc bag and tape them to the item that they belong to. Yeah, this right here, this will save you so much time looking for this stuff, or for like curtain rods, so your TV, or you know, anything that has little parts and pieces and screws. Just put them in a little Ziploc bag, or at the very least, take all of them and put them in one container and put it in your essentials box, or, you know, in your purse, or somewhere where you can find it easily, because it can be a pain in the butt to have to try to replace these little bits and pieces, you know, once you get there, like the hardware for your curtain rods and stuff. It's just a nuisance that you don't need. I mean, when you move, you already have 1,000 other things you're having to think about and make arrangements for and plan, and it's just one little thing that you wouldn't have to worry about. Just, you know, what I usually do is I'll just take one of the little snack size Ziploc bags and I'll put them in there and just use a piece of Scotch tape and just tape it like to the back of the TV, or wrap it around the curtain rod and use Scotch tape masking tape to hold it on there, because masking tape is sticky enough to hold it in place, but it's easy to remove it as well, so it's not going to leave sticky residue all over whatever you put it on. I always have a roll of masking tape around, and it's also good. Masking tape is also good for making labels. Like if you want to put it on a tote, you can write on it and then you can easily pull it off later and it doesn't damage anything. So masking tape is wonderful. And here's a neat little trick that you might not know about. You put glasses and stemware in socks. If you have a bunch of crew length socks, especially if they're the thick cushiony kind, you just put your socks down in them and, you know, place them vertically in a box. And it's a wonderful cushion for glasses and stemware. And it's a good way to move your socks. It's also good to use other clothing items for things. I mean, you can pack them up however you want to, but another thing you can do, especially with like blankets, any kind of bed linens, pillowcases, anything like that, wrap your breakables in clothing, bed linens, etc., to save on bubble wrap or whatever other padding you would want to use. You know, it's going to get moved, but you can also use it as a cushion as well. And if you have any old blankets that you don't really use very much anymore, or blankets that you don't care if anything happens to them, you can use them as furniture pads for moving things. You know, because a lot of my moves, I would use a pickup truck. I would just borrow somebody's pickup truck to move my stuff. You could put it between things on the back of the truck or however you need to do it to kind of cushion them on the way. So a lot of my blankets have been used for that over the years. So it's a good way to get your stuff moved, but to also kind of make it do double duty. So while it's moving, it also has to serve as padding for any of your little breakable things. And this is something that I'm guilty of not doing because I'm stubborn and I just can't bring myself to do it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And this is something that I just can't do. I don't know why. Yeah, ask for help, but do what you can to pay the people who help you. Even if, you know, one thing you can do, if you have stuff you're going to donate, give them first dibs on it. Like if there's something you're going to get rid of anyway, if they want it, let them have it. Although I will tell you this, if you're over about 35, you're going to hurt yourself more than likely, you know, and your friends are not going to want to risk a slip disc for some cheap beer and pizza. Just, you know, they may not want to help you. Just not without a big bottle of Advil and a back brace and maybe some vouchers for a chiropractor. I mean, we're getting too old. I'm pushing 50 and it hurts to move at this age. It hurts just to move my own body some days. I certainly don't feel like moving your chest of drawers and refrigerator. So, but do what you can to, you know, don't expect them to do it for free. I mean, I wouldn't, but some people just don't think about stuff like that, you know. Find something, you know, like get them a gift certificate somewhere they like to go, or, you know, whatever you can do. But at the very least, just let them know you appreciate it, and then maybe someday you can help them with something, you know. But most of my moves, like I said, I did it by myself because I just refuse. I refuse to ask for help. I'd just rather do it myself. And here's another thing that I didn't start doing until recently. Pack your plates vertically, like record, you know, like putting records on the shelf. They are less likely to break than if you lay them down flat in the box. Yeah, and also with glasses, put them in there vertically with padding. Like I said, you could use socks, like put them down in socks or however you cushion them. But you want them in there vertical, not horizontal. And plates that are stored vertically in whatever container you're putting them in, they are less likely to get broken if you put them in there vertically, like records, with whatever padding. And one thing I do when I put my plates in a box, I have a lot of kitchen towels. I will just use kitchen towels and washcloth, or just washcloths like from the bathroom, all the washcloths between the plates, and I pad them very well to make sure they don't get broken. And they're my Goodwill plates. I can't replace them. I do actually have some plates that I bought at a thrift store years ago, and they don't make them anymore. So I don't want them to get broken because I'd have to go to Replacements Limited or somewhere to get more, and they're really expensive. Oh, here's a really good one if you're like me. I'm not the most technologically advanced person, in case you can't tell. But take a picture of how your electronics are connected so you can reassemble them easily in your new home. So like however your TV and everything is, however it's all hooked up, just, get it out away from the wall enough where you can just take your phone or whatever and just snap a quick picture of it. So after you move, you can just go back and look at that picture and see what goes where. And this is very helpful if you're like me and you're lousy at that kind of stuff. It's so simple, but it's something that you have to think of before you unhook everything. Oh, and the next thing, fortunately, I've never had to deal with this, but I know somebody who did, and they didn't do this and then regretted it. That's why I put this in here. If you have a lot of fragile or extremely heavy items, it may be worthwhile to at least hire movers to move those things. So a friend of mine had a piano, and she was moving, and she didn't want to pay somebody to move it. So she got a couple of guys to move it, and they were trying to load it on a truck or something, and it fell, like they dropped it, and it landed on like concrete, and it destroyed her piano, and she was heartbroken. But they're very heavy, and they didn't really know what they were doing apparently, but she didn't want to hire movers to move it, and she really regretted that because I think it was like her grandmother's piano, or I'm not sure what the story was, but there's something very special about it, and it was destroyed. I hate it. So I'm not saying you have to hire movers to move everything, but if you do have a lot of fragile things or anything really heavy like a piano or something like that, especially pianos, because they're very delicate anyway. I mean, for a piano, I would want to hire piano movers to move that because they know how to do that without messing it up. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to get them to move everything because I know how expensive that is, but it might be worth your while to get somebody, who knows how to do it to move stuff like that. And this is something I've taken advantage of many times. If you live in an office, sometimes I felt like I did. If you work in an office, ask for empty paper boxes. They're sturdy and they usually have a lid on them. And I'll tell you another trick too. Where I used to work, we had these paper, the big reams of paper come in these big boxes, and they're really sturdy and they have a lid that fits over the top. If you're using those boxes and you're putting them in the back of a truck to move it, which is what I was doing, I've done that so many times. Take the box, and because the lid can blow off, you can either tape it down, put some tape on it to tape it down, or just flip the box upside down. If there's nothing in there that will get damaged by it, just flip it upside down so the lid is on the bottom, and it just mush them all together. It worked for me. I don't know, but you might be able to get some good paper boxes, or if you know of someone who works in an office, they might be able to get you some boxes. Oh, and here's another thing that I always take advantage of. Use laundry baskets, hampers, and suitcases to pack things in to save on boxes. Any kind of thing that could serve as a container, use it to pack stuff in. Yeah, so if I will take all the laundry baskets. I only have a few suitcases, but just take those things that are kind of empty anyway. You got to move them anyway. Just go ahead and use them to put stuff in. And that way, you're moving it, and it's also serving as a nice little vessel for your other things. Okay, now I said there was a good thing about moving. There's a silver lining to this cloud, and this is it right here. It's a good time to get rid of unneeded things or clothing. Do I really want this bad enough to move it? And I ask myself that all the time. I imagine I'm with one of those organizers from Hoarders, like I've got, Matt Paxton or Dorothy Brenninger, or, any Standel and Robertson, I think I can't remember. There are a couple others. I just pretend they're here with me and they're like, do you really need that? Do you need it bad enough to pack it up and move it and then unpack it and put it away in a new place? And it's a wonderful time to just go through and just declutter because you have to handle everything anyway. It's a good time to look at everything and decide, do I really want it bad enough to move it? And that's when I get rid of tons of stuff. So it's a really good time to go through and just declutter because you got to do something with it. But do you really want to move it? And I end up taking tons of stuff and donating it because I don't need it. I don't want it as clutter in my new place. Okay, now like I said, for 18 of my 19 moves, I did not hire movers. But I know after I moved the 18th time, I was so sore and achy and I hurt my back a bit. I said I can't do it again. So I decided I was going to hire movers what I wanted to do was get everything packed up and then have the movers loaded in the truck, bring it here, and unload everything so I wouldn't have to do any of that. Take advice from me. Do your homework before hiring movers and read the contract thoroughly. There may be stuff in the fine print that you're not okay with. Just make sure you read everything before you sign it and do your homework before you hire movers. I don't even remember how I picked the movers I picked. They were awful. I will tell you, I talked to the owner of this company and he said, I'll send out 3 movers. I paid for 3 movers all day. Well, one of them didn't show up at all. One of them was severely hungover, and the other one had been driving all night. He'd gone to a concert out of state somewhere and had been driving all night and had just gotten back and had literally no sleep. So, bless their hearts, they both tried as hard as they could, but they were not a lot of help. And I ended up having to work with them all day because I knew we weren't going to get done if I didn't also help out. So I did get a sizable discount after discussing this with the owner. He gave me a big discount, but I ended up having to work all day, and that was the one thing I was trying to avoid, and I was just exhausted by the end of the day. But I wish I had done a little bit more homework and tried a little harder to find a better moving company. But yeah, definitely look around, ask for referrals or, if anybody has a suggestion or anything. Don't just pick anybody like apparently I did. And this is a very important thing too that you want to do. If you're renting, take pictures of your cleaned out old home and your new home before moving in. Now I did this when I moved into the apartment. Even though, of course, they go around with you, with a clipboard and you walk through the apartment and look for any issues or anything, so we did that. But I still took pictures of every room, everything before I moved in there. And it really helped me because when I was ready to move out, there was an issue with some damage on one of the walls. And they were going to try to keep my security deposit, saying that we did that. But I had pictures from before we moved in showing that it was there when we moved in. And they had to admit, okay, well, you didn't do it. So they gave me my security deposit back. But no matter where you're moving, especially if you're renting, and, if you're moving out of a place you're renting, take pictures of everything. All the walls, the bathrooms, the floors. Take pictures of everything. And you might need them. But, especially, with cell phones these days, it's really easy to just go around and, just take pictures of everything. And if you're renting a house or anything, go around the house, take pictures on the outside. You may never need them, but it may help you later if you're trying to move out and get your security deposit back. they may try to question something, and you can go back and show, well, here's the picture before I moved in, and here's what it looked like. It was like that already. So, it's just a little bit of insurance for yourself if you ever need it in the future. And another thing you want to do before you move, and you're planning ahead, make your last grocery trip 2 weeks prior to moving. Now, I know if you have kids especially, that can be really tough. You go get milk or whatever like that. But my goal before I move is to try to get rid of all the perishable food that I can. And we have some weird meals the last couple of weeks before we move. We do. Because I want to try to use up everything in the refrigerator that I can. Because whenever I don't use up, I will have to put it in a cooler full of ice, or you have to dispose of it or something. So I try to use up all the perishable stuff before we go. So you want to kind of whittle it down as much as possible for a couple of weeks before you move. It makes it a lot easier than getting to moving day and you have a refrigerator full of stuff. And you'd be surprised how much stuff will fit in your refrigerator. You start pulling it out and it's like, where am I going to put all this stuff, And you may end up having to throw some away because you just have no way to preserve it. So that's one thing a lot of people don't think about, is the food in the refrigerator. And if you're going to move your refrigerator, I have something about that here too. Fortunately, most of my moves didn't involve refrigerators, thank God, because I hate moving refrigerators. It is such a pain. You have to get them defrosted, you have to get them drained, you got to get everything out. Oh, it's awful. Okay, now when it comes to clothes hanging in your closet, now my closet is a nightmare because there's way too much stuff in there. Oh my God. But here's what I do. With the clothes that are hanging up, don't take them off the hangers. Leave them on the hangers. And what you do is, here's what I do. Keep the wardrobe clothes on the hangers. You use a garbage bag with a cinch top to collect and move the bags, and then to move the clothes, and you can reuse the bags. See, what you do is you section off some of your stuff, kind of squish it together, open up like a kitchen size garbage bag with the cinch top on it, the drawstring, pull it up over the clothes and cinch it closed and kind of tie it where it will kind of just collect and hold all the stuff. And then you just take that bundle and you're just going to move that whole bundle at one time. And you just do bundle after bundle you don't have to poke a hole in the bag or anything. Bundle after bundle till you get them all bundled up. And that way when you get to your new place, you align the hangers, hang them up, take the bag off, and everything is right there, still on the hangers. You don't have to unfold it and hang them up. It's awesome. Because that can eat up a lot of your time right there. If you're, taking all the clothes off the hangers, you got to fold them up. You got to find some way to transport them to the new place. And then when you get to the new place, you got to unfold them. Put them back on the hangers. You may have to iron some stuff because it got wrinkled. Don't bother with all that. Leave it on the hangers. Put a bag over it, cinch it up, tie it, whatever you need to do. And then just lift it all together. And you got a bundle. And then you can hang that on your hanger on the rod in your new place. And then you just pull the bag off, and then you have a bunch of bags that you can reuse. You can use the bags for trash bags. And here's another thing. When you're moving a dresser or chest of drawers, anything like that, you want to tape the drawers shut, because when they're getting moved, when they're being put on the truck or wherever it's going, the drawers can fall out. And it could hurt somebody, it could get damaged, any number of things could happen to the drawers. You can just take some tape, and again, you can use like a wide masking tape. It's enough to hold it shut, but it's not, you're going to be able to pull it off and it won't damage whatever you have taped shut. Or if it makes it easier to move the item, if it makes it lighter or easier to handle, you can just take the drawers out completely. It's just up to you. A lot of times whenever I move a dresser or a chest of drawers, I just take the drawers completely out because I'm a wimp and I hate moving heavy things, and I also have back problems. So yeah, it's just a little thing, and I think most people know that. But I mean, if you've never moved before, and everybody goes through it for the first time at some point, you're going to have to move, so it may be a little something you didn't think about. Just take the drawers out, or at the very least, tape it shut. Now, speaking of refrigerators, hate moving refrigerators. You're going to want to defrost your refrigerator at least a day before you move it. And you're going to want to wipe up any liquid because inevitably there's going to be some liquid. It just spills, water out. You're going to need to wipe that up. Don't leave it on the floor. Somebody could slip on it, or it could, at the very least, it could damage the floor. So you want to make sure you clean up any water or anything that comes out of the refrigerator. And of course, you're going to want to get all the food out of it before you do that. So, yeah, fortunately, I have only had to move a refrigerator once in my 19 moves. Every other time, the refrigerator stayed where it was. The place I was moving to either already had a refrigerator or I got one after I got there. Most of them already had a refrigerator, so that was good. I don't like moving those things. Oh, and here's another thing. When you're planning your move that a lot of people don't think about until the last minute, you want to change your address at least 2 weeks prior to moving. You want to go ahead and get that change of address form submitted. You can do it online or you can do it at the post office. You want to make sure to get that change in at least 2 weeks ahead of time, and you can schedule the date that you want it to start, but you want to go ahead and get that request in so it's ready to go when your moving day comes. So yeah, there are a lot of things that you want to do in advance as early as possible. This is one of them right here, is your change of address. And it's really quick and easy to do it online. You just want to get that in as soon as possible so they have time to process your request. Of course, when you're doing it online, maybe that's not as much of a problem, but before, when you had to mail it in, yeah, you want to give them time to process it. And as far as getting rid of clutter, don't take clutter with you. Don't look at it and think, well, I'll decide after I get there if I want to keep this or not. Just go ahead and make the decision now, one way or the other, to get rid of it or not. Now, I'm like the anti-pack rat. I don't hold on to stuff. I grew up in a very small, cluttered home, and I hate clutter. So this is an easy one for me. It's a perfect opportunity to get rid of stuff, which is wonderful. I love to do that because I despise clutter. So don't take it with you, because if it's clutter where you are now, it's going to be clutter wherever you're going. So especially if you're moving from a bigger place to a smaller place. I didn't make a card for that. I didn't even think about it till now. If you're moving into a smaller place, you need to remember all that stuff you have now in the big place is going to be a lot tighter. It's going to be a lot more cramped in this new place. So you might have to be a little bit more harsh with, your decisions to let things go. Yeah, that's another thing some people don't think about. And they're like, where am I going to put all this? When did we get all this stuff all of a sudden? Now, this one may just be me. This may not affect you, but this affects me every time. You want to make sure you label every box on all 4 sides, because if you don't, the label will always be on the side that you can't see for some reason. This always happens to me. I could have 40 boxes and put the, like it's kitchen stuff or bathroom stuff, whatever. If I just write it on one side, when they're stacked up, they will all be facing the wall and I can't see what it is. So put it on all 4 sides, because if you don't, it will get turned in such a way that you're not going to be able to tell what's in there without taking the whole stack apart and then turning the box to look at it. Just take a moment and put it on all 4 sides. And this is coming from my heart because I deal with this myself. For God's sake, protect your back. I don't care if you're 50 or 20 or 75, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how invincible you think you are. Protect your back. I hurt my back when I was 18. The summer I was 18, I worked in a Black & Decker factory, and I hurt my back. I was loading toaster ovens onto a pallet all day one day, and I ended up hurting my lower back. And I have, every now and then I still have problems with my back because I don't take care of my back like I'm supposed to, and like I'm telling you to right now because I'm a big hypocrite. Take care of your back. Whether, you bend with, lift with your knees, not your back, bend your knees and lift, and don't put a lot of stress and strain on your back. Even if you're young and even if it doesn't hurt now, if you don't learn how to lift things safely, you can do damage to your back that I promise you, when you're my age, you are going to rue the day that you didn't take care of your back. Because I was young once, I was 18 and I was working in a factory and I thought I was invincible. And I was not lifting things properly and I hurt my back. And I still have problems to this day and I wish I had done better. So if you're moving things, whether you're moving house or you just have to move some stuff, please take care of your back. Use a back brace. You know, you can, there are videos, I'm sure, on YouTube of the proper way to lift things to protect your back. There are all kinds of exercises that you can find, again, on YouTube for lower back exercises to strengthen your back. Lots of stuff you can do. But just be very careful of your back when you're moving things because it's so easy to hurt yourself. And you may not even know right away that you did. Please take care of your back. Okay. Don't pack the toolkit. Keep it handy after the move. You will inevitably need at least one screwdriver after you move. You may not think so. You're going to need a screwdriver, so keep that toolkit available. So if you do have a little toolkit, just keep it wherever you can get it. Like you could just put it with your box of essentials. And usually when I move, I will take my box of essentials and my toolkit and I put them in the car with me. So I got my eye on them. I know where they are. And when I get there, I know wherever, if it gets put somewhere, I know where it was put. So keep your toolkit handy. And if you don't have a toolkit, it wouldn't hurt to get just a little box. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just any kind of, for a long time I used a tackle box and just get a few screwdrivers, you know, a hammer, some screws and nails, you know, just things like that. Because, you know, especially if you're a young person and you're just going out on your own, you're going to need that stuff. Again, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can go somewhere like Harbor Freight and get stuff really cheap, and you know, so you'll need a little toolkit. And keep it where you can find it. Here's another thing that comes in handy. I don't have one, so I always have to borrow one. If you don't have a hand truck or a moving trolley, borrow one because they're a bit expensive to buy, especially if you don't plan to use it again. You could probably find somebody that has one or they know somebody. If not, you can go to, I know around here they have tool rental places where you can get power washers and stuff like that you can rent by the day or however they do it. They may have them. My dad calls them a dolly or a hand truck. It's, if you don't know what they are, it's this little doodad right here. So yeah, see, here's the little handle here, and there's a little platform right here, and you can stack a bunch of boxes on it. You can use little straps if you want to hold them on there. And you can use these going up steps or down steps, but you have to be kind of careful. But it can be a faster way to move things. You could put a whole bunch of boxes on there. It's great for moving heavy stuff. I love them. Usually I end up borrowing my dad's dolly. He's actually left it to me in his will because I've borrowed it so many times. He said, Mary, you've used it more than I have. He keeps trying to give it to me. He said, just take it home. He said, just take it home. I said, no, I don't have anywhere to put it. He said, well, you know you're going to ask for it again. And after I moved in here, I said, I don't plan to ask for it because I don't want to move anymore. I just want to stay put right here. But this is a hand truck or a dolly or whatever you want. Different people call it different things. These things are fantastic if you're moving, though. It's, even if you have to rent one, it is well worth the investment. If nothing else, it helps you move heavy stuff. Now, when you're getting ready to plan your move, if you can, schedule time off work. If you can, and trust me, I have had situations where I had to move and I could not get time off work. And for part of that time, I was in school and I was going to school and working, and I just couldn't, I just had to pack and get everything done in my own time, and it was tough, so I know. But try to schedule time off work and a day to recover and unpack if you can swing it, if at all possible. So yeah, I want to tell you something. If you've never moved before, the day after you finish the move, you're going to be really tired. And you're probably going to be pretty distracted. You're going to be thinking about unpacking and putting things away. I know for me, I can't really relax until I have everything unpacked and put wherever it needs to go, because I like for things to be in their place, and everything kind of has a place for me. And if it's not all in its place, I can't relax. So if you could, if possible, and again, I know how it is not to be able to do it, but if you could have a day off after you move just to kind of take a breath, relax, take it easy if you need to, and it'll make you feel a lot better. It's hard to spend all day moving and then have to rush back to work the very next morning. It sucks. Oh, and this is a simple one, but I'm guilty of not doing this. Finish packing before moving day. Don't, try to work it out to where you're done. I try to get done the day before moving day. That way, if anything comes up, maybe I can handle it before moving day, because that day is going to be crazy. For me, now I've had 3 weddings, okay? Moving day for me is just as stressful and hectic as planning a wedding. It really is, and no matter how carefully you plan, something will probably go wrong. You're going to have to deal with some issue that day that you did not anticipate. It's going to be nuts, more than likely, especially if you have multiple people involved in the move. It can get crazy. So yeah, you want to be done, because that not being done is stressful enough, so that when other stuff comes up that day, it's just going to add to your stress. So try to get all your packing done before moving day comes. Here's a neat little tip. Put cotton balls in your cosmetics, like if you have a compact or in anything that might get broken. Put it in there, and you can, if it won't close all the way, you can wrap it in saran wrap or plastic wrap or something like that. It will help prevent breakage of your product during the move, if you feel like doing that. Honestly though, for me, with my cosmetics, I just put them all in my essentials tote, and I know that's not going to get handled roughly. It's going to stay right by my side and go in the car with me when the final move over, when I'm finally, the place is empty and I'm going to the new place. It goes with me on that last ride from the old place to the new place. So I don't really worry about it. But I know when I moved to Illinois, I did that because a lot of my stuff was in a big moving truck, and I know it shifted some during the move, and I was driving this giant rider van thing. I was horrified. It was scary. I'd never driven anything that big, and I also had a tow dolly behind me with my Volkswagen bus on it, driving on these windy roads going God knows where. It's awful. But yeah, if there's any danger of your cosmetics getting dropped or bumped or anything, it might be good to have something in there to kind of compress it a little bit so it doesn't get jarred quite as bad and risk the chance of it breaking. Okay, big rubber bands are your friend when you're moving. One thing you can do is keep a big rubber band handy that you loop around a door. If you're going in and out of a room or in and out of a house and the door keeps trying to close and you don't want it to, sorry, my allergies are getting to me. Yeah, take a big rubber band, and if you have a door that's always trying to close, which sometimes can be an issue if you're moving things in a room or out of a room, you take the rubber band and you loop it around the one knob and you twist it over the part that goes, into the door jamb, and loop it around the other one, and it can help keep the door from closing all the way. Or you could just prop the door open. But if if you're in a situation where you can't do that, even if you're not moving, it can be a good thing to keep a door from closing all the way. I don't know why you would need it, but you never know. So you just take the rubber band, loop it around one side on the doorknob, twist it over the part that goes into the door jamb, and then loop it around the doorknob on the other side. And also, just go ahead and buy you a bag of rubber bands, like big rubber bands. You can also use rubber bands to secure the lids on pots and pans. Like, the great big rubber bands, you could just wrap it around there and it will hold them down on there if you need to do that. And then if you're like me later, your kids will just find the bag of big rubber bands and just shoot them at one another. So, they get to enjoy them too. And here's something I do, just because I think if the number of times you touch something decreases your efficiency. If you can decrease the number of times you touch whatever the item is, you're being more efficient. So here's something I do is I'm going through my items. I clean or dust them as I pack them. So if I'm packing books or DVDs or dishes or knickknacks or whatever it is, I just will go ahead and I just keep a rag and some cleaner or whatever nearby, and I will just kind of, give them a quick wipe over and just dust them off a little bit before I pack them up. That way, too, it's really nice when you get to your new place, you pull it out and it's all nice and clean and it's not all dusty and gross, and it's going to make you happier. So, it's just one less time because you were going to have to dust them anyway. You already have it in your hand. You might as well go ahead and dust it before you put it up. This one is super important, and it's one that I think a lot of people forget. Make sure all of your utilities will be up and running by moving day, and you need to get that scheduled as soon as possible. I'll tell you what I ran into. Okay, now when we were moving in here, I went ahead and got, all the utilities hooked up except the gas. I didn't think about the gas. I knew there was a gas line, but I thought the water heater was electric. I was wrong. It was a gas water heater. I found that out after I moved in, and I said, oh shoot, I got to get the gas turned on or we're not going to have any hot water. Well, I called the gas company, and they said, well, we can't get anybody out there until next week to turn your gas on. So fortunately at that point, I still had the apartment for another week. I think we had another week before they could come out. But then they said, well, we will, okay, so they picked a day. They said, we'll be there at this day between 12 and 4 p.m. Okay, fine. Well, that day comes, and I'm at work, and they call me at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the guy said, I'm at your house. I'm ready to turn the gas on, but you're not here. I can't turn it on without you. I said, I thought y'all weren't coming until later this afternoon. He said, well, I have on here that we would be here between 8 and 12. I said, well, I'm at work. I can't leave to come home right now. And he said, well, then you're going to have to reschedule. I can't do anything about that. I said, whatever. So I called to reschedule, and they said, well, it's going to be at least another week before we can get back out there. So it ended up taking, it was about 2.5 weeks we had no hot water. It was awful. It was a nightmare. We just had to take cold showers, and, it was a nightmare. Couldn't wash dishes. I could boil water to wash dishes in the sink or something, but it was awful. It was awful. So make sure you get everything turned on in advance. Get it scheduled as soon as possible. If it's something where you need to be there for them to turn it on, hopefully you can work it out to where you can get there, and they will not give you the wrong time frame to be there like they did me. But yeah, try to get that done as soon as possible, or you could end up like I did and not have any hot water for a while. And this is something I try to do as well. Keep all of your moving documents, like if you have a copy of your lease, a rental agreement, or, if you've got a moving company, any paperwork from them, any business cards, whatever. Keep them all together in one folder. Keep them together in one folder, and usually I would keep that folder in my car until the move was done. So I always had it in the car with me. So if I was out and about and I needed to call the movers or whoever, I had their information right there. And you have copies of everything available at all times, because wherever my car is, I'm somewhere nearby, so I can always go out to my car and get it. But if I'm at work and this stuff is at home, back then I didn't work from home, but I do now. But if I was at work, I don't feel like coming back home to get that. But if it's in my car, I can get it. And here's another idea for packing things. You can take small kitchen items like spices and measuring cups and put them in your pots. Like if you have a crock pot, you could fit a bunch of your spices in there, or a large stock pot. Just use that as extra space to pack stuff in. And then, even if it's a big item, you may not be packing it in a box anyway, but you can make use of that little space in there, and you could put your little measuring cups in there. Any small things from the kitchen, you can just stick them all down in there. And if you need any padding, if it's something breakable, like if you have some glass salt and pepper shakers, you can just take, if you have any dish rags or sponges, you can use those to kind of stick down in there and kind of cushion them a little bit. Yeah, it's good, and they're all kitchen things, so when you unpack it, you're not gonna have to go too far to put it away. And here's something that's definitely worth it. And you may not have thought of this. Well, if you have kids or pets, I'm sure you have. If you have small children or pets, arrange for their care on moving day. You don't want to try to move with little kids and pets running around, because it's going to be chaotic enough anyway. It's going to be stressful for the pets. It'll be stressful for the kids. Just try to make arrangements for either to have somebody there to take care of them, or have them at a doggy daycare or at a babysitter's house or whatever. It's just a lot easier if they're not there. You know, it's less stressful for them, and it's less stressful for you. I know with my cats, what did I do? I think I kept them in a room with the door closed where it was as quiet as possible, and had everything out of that room. So they had a litter box and food and water and everything in there. And then after we got everything out, I came back and got them and took them and brought them here. And, you know, it was, I'm sure it wasn't a fun day for them, but yeah, it was. And my kids actually were not here the weekend I moved, so that actually worked out. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, and this is a good thing, especially if you're moving in hot weather, which is, I don't know what's worse. I think moving in cold weather is worse. I hate moving when it's cold outside, or if it's icy or snowy, or just if it's raining or anything. Ugh. But pack a cooler with snacks and water, no matter what time of the year it is. That way you and anybody helping you can have something to drink and a little something to eat. It's just good to have some water and some snacks available. And this is something I always do. One of the first rooms I set up after I move is the bathroom. I go ahead and I'll have a lot of that stuff in the essentials box. I make sure that I have a towel handy, you know, washcloths, shampoo, conditioner, soap. Make sure I have all those things right at my fingertips in a box that I keep with me. But you're probably going to need it. I mean, if you've been moving stuff all day, you're going to be hot, you're going to be sweaty, you're probably going to be dirty. You know, you're really going to want a shower. So, yeah, and I couldn't take a hot shower here after I moved in. I remember that. I had to go back to the apartment to take a shower because there was no hot water here. Oh, good times. But yeah, go ahead and get that set up first, because you're going to need it. You know, if you have family members helping you, they may want a shower, you know, whatever. But just make sure you have that set up and ready to go. And then you have to think about, okay, so you're in your new place. Yay! You know, what are you going to eat? It might be a good idea to stock the new place with easy meals, at least for the first little bit, because your dishes are probably all packed away. A lot of your kitchen utensils may not be readily available. So you might want to just think about things that you can make without a lot of trouble, or, you know, like easy microwavable stuff, or, you know, whatever you can make without a lot of stuff, you know, or you might just order takeout, because we did that more than a few times after we moved in here. So it's just good to have things that are easy to fix if you want to make food at home. And then after I printed my little papers, I came up with a couple of other things. One thing, and I always do this, whenever you're done and you've unpacked your boxes, I always put the empty boxes out by the curb, and I will either go to somewhere like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or wherever, and I'll just put out a little curb alert that I have free moving boxes. If you want them, just come take them. And somebody always takes them, like immediately. People around here are always looking for moving boxes, so that way, you know, somebody else can take them and use them for their move. So, and I like to just pass them on to somebody else. Actually, for my last move, I think I got some moving boxes that way. I think somebody put something on Facebook or something about it, and I ran out there and got some boxes because I was running low and it didn't have enough. Okay, now this is just for me, and maybe it won't affect you, but don't assume that it won't. This is just a practice I do after I move. Don't make any big plans for the first week or two after you move. Like, you know, don't plan a big trip somewhere or like a big party. I personally would not, because, well, first of all, your house is going to be in disarray. everything is everywhere. You're probably tired. You're probably stressed, or you were stressed and now you're just tired. Don't try to get ambitious with your planning for at least a week or two after you move. Just keep it low key and just kind of relaxed. And then you can ease your way back into other stuff. Because what I did when we moved in here, I don't have any idea why I did this, but I planned a trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania. Let's see, we moved in here June 3rd. I think we left for that trip on June the 5th. And the house was just, everything was still in boxes. And we took off for Hershey for like, what was it, 3 days, 2 days? I don't know. We drove up there. And I had a pet sitter come and take care of the cats every day while we were gone. But, yeah, I was exhausted. And then have to drive all the way up there and back with 2 kids. Like, what was I thinking? I don't remember why I thought that was a good idea. But yeah, we had a great time. It was a great trip, but I was really tired by the time I got back. But yeah, don't try to plan anything big for a week or two after you move. Because even if you don't feel tired right now, it may be the kind of thing like you feel really good about it. You make these plans and you're feeling really good. But then when the time comes to actually do it, it's like, oh my God, why did I plan that? I'm not up for it. So, that's what I'm saying. It may not bother you now, but it may bother you later. So I wouldn't plan anything too crazy for a week or two after your move is completed. Yeah. So those were my little tips for moving from one place to another. And I'm sure there are more. If you have any other ideas, please leave them in the comments, because, I always learn new things from people that I never really thought about. But those were my tips, and I thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you again really soon.